Okay, so, when was the last time you actually thought about margarine? It's just kind of always there in the fridge, ready for toast or baking.
Yeah.
But behind that tub, there's this whole world of how it's made, and it's way more interesting than you'd think.
Definitely more to it than meets the eye.
Today, we're diving into the job of a hydrogenation machine operator, the folks who make that margarine magic happen. We've got some cool info from RoleCatcher, so we're going deep on the career path, the skills, even interview
It's
questions.
wild, right? Most people wouldn't even consider what goes into making margarine, but there's a ton of tech and precise work behind it.
Totally. It's not like just squeezing a lemon. So break it down. What does a hydrogenation machine operator do all day?
So imagine you've got your basic cooking oils, sunflower, soybean, that kind of thing. Hydrogenation basically transforms these oils, takes them from liquid to that spreadable texture we expect in margarine.
So it's more than just hitting make it solid, huh?
More like being a conductor for an orchestra. The machine is their instrument, and they're making sure that hydrogenation process goes perfectly, so every batch is consistent.
It's like this whole hidden factory world we never see.
And it's a world with high demand. Skilled operators are super sought after, which makes sense when you think about their work environment.
Yeah, this isn't some cushy office gig, right? Set the scene for us.
Picture a busy factory floor. Machines are humming, probably a bit louder than you're used to, and definitely faster paced. Safety gear is a must. Thick gloves for the chemicals. It's demanding, but that high demand also means job security.
For someone who likes to work with their hands and see actual results, that could be appealing.
Totally. Like any job, there are pros and cons, though. RoleCatcher mentions on-the-job training's a big plus. Good for hands-on learners. There's real potential to move up, become a lead operator, even go into supervisory roles. And the pay often beats typical manufacturing jobs.
Sounds pretty sweet so far. What about the downsides? What would make someone say, nah, margarine's not for me?
It is demanding. Physically, there's always going to be some risk working with chemicals, and that fast-paced thing we talked about means pressure to keep up with those production goals. It takes a certain kind of person to thrive in that setting.
People think of factory jobs as being dead end, but these roll catcher excerpts tell a different story. There's a career ladder to climb here, right?
For sure, it's not just clocking in and pushing buttons. There are clear steps, entry level to junior, senior, all the way up to lead operator. More responsibility, new things to learn at every stage.
So you're not stuck. If you're ambitious, there's room to grow.
And get this, the skills needed are a real mix.
Hmm.
You've got the tech side, knowing the chemistry, how to work those machines, troubleshooting when things go wrong.
Which, let's be real, in a factory probably happens from time to time. How about the people skills? Do those even matter in this job?
Hugely. It's all about teamwork, especially if there's an issue on the line. You got to explain things clearly and fast. And the attention to detail needed is crazy. One tiny error and a whole batch of margarine could be off. Meticulousness is key.
Suddenly, that tub of margarine seems way more complex. It's science, teamwork, working under pressure.
And that's not all. These RoleCatcher excerpts actually give examples of real interview questions they ask aspiring hydrogenation machine operators.
Oh, this is where the rubber meets the road. How did they find the right people for this job? Give us an example. What kind of question are we talking?
One that stuck out was, how do you maintain quality control while you're actually running the machine? It's not enough to know how to turn it on and off. You got to care about that quality every step of the way. Shows how detail-oriented you are if you care about making good margarine.
Subtle way to see if you're just there for the paycheck or if you're invested. Okay, hit me with another one, an interview question that really gets at what this job is all about.
All right, how about this? How would you troubleshoot if the machine started acting up? Anyone can follow instructions when things are perfect, but in a factory, that's rarely reality. This question tests how you handle problems under pressure.
If you can think on your feet, keep those production lines moving.
Exactly. It shows if you're someone who freaks out when things go wrong or if you can stay calm and find solutions. Super crucial in this role.
Already so much to unpack, and we're just getting started. Makes you wonder what other skills they're looking for.
Oh, we've only scratched the surface. In part 2, we'll dig even deeper into those essential skills, the technical and the surprising ones you wouldn't expect. And we'll see how this job, even though it's behind the scenes, connects to bigger ideas. Safety, sustainability, even a bit of history. Stick around. You won't look at margarine the same way again.
Back again with the deep dive. Still wading through the world of margarine. Who knew it was so complex?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Never thought I'd learn so much about a job most people don't even know exists.
These RoleCatcher excerpts are amazing, right? One thing that stood out this whole career progression, it's not just a dead-end thing, is it?
Nope, not at all. They've got these clear stages laid out, starting entry level, then moving up. Junior, senior, and finally, the big kahuna, the lead operator. Each step with a whole new level of, well, responsibility, I guess. New challenges.
So say you're brand new, just starting out. What's an entry-level hydrogenation machine operator actually doing day to day?
Lots of learning the ropes, you know. You'd be working right alongside those more experienced operators, kind of like an apprenticeship. You're operating the equipment, monitoring things, but with that safety net. Nobody's throwing you the keys to the margarine kingdom on day one, thankfully.
So lots of hand-holding at first, making sure you've got it down.
Oh, yeah. It's all about those standard operating procedures, getting into the groove of the production line, maybe helping out with some minor troubleshooting, keeping things clean and organized, all that good stuff.
Sounds like a lot of learning by doing, getting that foundation.
Exactly. And then once you've got those basics, you move up, become a junior hydrogenation machine operator.
Okay, so junior level, what changes there? More responsibility, I'm guessing.
Definitely. You're handling the equipment more independently, doing more of the routine maintenance tasks, might even start training some new recruits, those fresh entry-level folks coming in.
So you're not just absorbing anymore, you're passing on that knowledge. That's cool.
It is. And you might start getting into like optimizing the production, making things more efficient, more collaborative, less just following directions, more like offering your own ideas.
Right. It's not just keeping things running, it's making them run better. Okay, so you've put in the time, you're experienced at the junior level. What's the next step up?
That would be your senior hydrogenation machine operator. This is where it gets interesting. You're not just responsible for your own work. You're overseeing others.
Ah, so a leadership aspect comes in.
Exactly. You're mentoring those junior operators, making sure they're following procedures, all that, but also taking a more, I guess you'd say, proactive approach to maintenance, like spotting potential problems before they even happen. Like, you know how your car makes that weird noise right before it breaks down?
Don't even get me started. Mine seems to know exactly when payday is. It's uncanny.
Right. It's like that. Being able to spot those early warning signs. And in the hydrogenation world, that can be the difference between a smooth day and a whole lot of margarine mayhem. Plus, as a senior operator, you start getting into the data side more.
Data, huh? As in like spreadsheets and graphs and stuff.
Kind of. You're tracking those production numbers, looking for trends, then using that info to make decisions, how to improve things even more. Really a mix of hands-on work and thinking analytically.
Senior operator sounds pretty great, honestly. You've got experience, you're mentoring others. Basically a margarine mastermind.
Pretty much. But for the truly ambitious,
Yeah.
those who want to be at the top of the margarine mountain, there's one more level. Lead operator.
The ultimate margarine maestro. What's involved in that?
Lead operator, you're basically the captain of the ship, responsible for how the whole team performs, guiding them, supporting them, making sure it all hums along like a well-oiled, no pun intended, machine.
I see what you did there. But yeah, lots of responsibility, but also a ton of influence. You're shaping the whole production process.
Exactly. Collaborating with other departments, making sure you're hitting those production targets, and always innovating, looking for ways to do things even better. It's a lot, but for the right person, incredibly rewarding.
It's so cool how someone can start with basic hydrogenation knowledge and end up running the show. But let's rewind a bit. What knowledge do you actually need to even get started in this field? What should someone interested in this be like studying, focusing on?
A strong grasp of chemical processes is a must-have. I mean, IS hydrogenation, right? We're talking changing the chemical structure of oils here.
So like a background in chemistry, chemical engineering, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Those kinds of courses would give you that solid base. But it's not all L chemistry. You need to understand the machines themselves. Mechanical engineering principles come in handy when you're talking operating, maintaining, and definitely troubleshooting equipment.
So it's both the why behind it all and the how of making it work. Like knowing how to bake the cake and how to fix a broken oven.
Love that analogy. And of course, we can't forget safety. Understanding safety protocols, the regulations, that's absolutely crucial in this line of work.
Yeah, when you're working with big machinery, potentially dangerous stuff, safety's got to be top of mind.
Absolutely. But here's what I found interesting. RoleCatcher also talks about these complementary knowledge areas, things that can be super valuable for a hydrogenation machine operator, but that you might not expect.
Oh, now you've got me curious. What are some of those unexpected but useful knowledge areas?
One that stood out to me was, well, food production in general. Knowing the whole journey of a food product, from raw ingredients to the final package on the shelf. Having that broader view can be a big help.
So it's like instead of just your one task, you understand how it all fits together.
Exactly. And another one they mentioned might seem a bit out of left field, but public safety and security.
Wait, hold up. Like security guards in a margarine factory?
Not quite. But think about it. Food production facilities, they have super strict safety protocols, security too, protecting the food supply, no contamination, making sure everything meets those high standards.
Oh, okay, I get it. So a hydrogenation machine operator, they're not guarding the building, but they're a part of keeping those standards high.
Exactly. And it just goes to show, even in a specialized role like this, that broader knowledge base, it can make you that much more valuable.
Shows how interconnected everything is. It's not just team margin, it's public health, safety, understanding the whole journey. Pretty cool.
It is. Makes you appreciate the complexity of a job most people take for granted.
Now, on top of all that knowledge, I'm guessing there are some super specific skills a hydrogenation machine operator needs to have. What does RoleCatcher say about that?
They've got this whole list, core skills and complementary ones, and it paints a real picture of what it takes to thrive in this role. It's more than just like the technical know-how. It's about your mindset, your attitude, really going that extra mile.
Let's start with those must-haves, those core skills. What are we talking about?
Top of the list seems obvious but crucial. Adhering to organizational guidelines. We're in a highly regulated industry, so following those procedures to a T is essential.
Right. One little mistake could throw the whole thing off.
Exactly. And since safety's so huge, another core skill, applying HACCP principles.
Applying what now?
It stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. Bit of a mouthful. But basically, it's a system for spotting and controlling potential hazards throughout the whole production process.
So it's not enough to just know the safety rules. You got to actively ease them.
Exactly. And of course, there are those hands-on practical skills, doing equipment checks, making sure things run smoothly, spotting those little problems before they become big ones, all that good stuff.
So mechanical skills, but also that careful eye, that attention to detail. Got to see the big picture, ain't the tiniest flaw.
You got it.
Yeah.
Another one. Controlling the flow of matter used in the oil processing. Basically, understanding how all the different parts of the process work together, adjusting flow rates, making sure the right amount of each ingredient's being used. It's like being a chef, but with industrial-sized equipment.
That's a whole other level of baking. Speaking of which, I'm guessing temperature control is a big deal.
Huge. Keeping that temperature just right throughout the whole hydrogenation process. Critical for the quality of the final product. A&D for safety.
Don't want any half-baked margarine out there.
Exactly. But here's where it gets even more interesting, at least to me. Besides those core skills, RoleCatcher talks about complementary ones. The stuff that might not be as obvious, but that can really make a difference in how successful you are.
All right, hit me with those hidden gems. What are some of those less obvious but valuable skills they talk about?
This one stood out to me, acting reliably. Now you might think, well, duh, isn't that important everywhere? And you're right, but in this kind of fast-paced environment, being reliable, it's essential.
Being the person everyone can depend on. You're there, you do what you say you'll do, you're consistent.
Exactly. And this next one might surprise you. They also highlight checking the sensory parameters of the oils and fats.
Sensory parameters. Hold up, is there taste testing involved in this job?
Not quite taste testing, but you're on the right track. It's about using your senses, sight, smell, even touch, to assess the quality of the product as it moves through the process.
Wow. So it's not just relying on the machines and data, it's that human element, being able to pick up on things a machine might miss.
Exactly. Blending that high-tech stuff with those age-old human senses, that's what it's all about.
That's incredible. It shows how important people still are, even with all the automation these days. What other surprising skills did they mention?
Well, this one might not be as surprising given, how things are these days, but they highlighted ensuring compliance with environmental legislation.
Makes sense. Sustainability is a big deal now. People want to know their food's being made responsibly.
For sure. And a hydrogenation machine operator, they have a key role to play in making sure things are done right, environmentally speaking. Minimizing waste, reducing energy use, always looking for ways to be more sustainable.
It's like you're not just making margarine, you're making it in a way that respects the planet.
Exactly. And finally, can't forget these. Communication and teamwork.
Important everywhere, but especially in this kind of fast-paced, team-based environment.
You're right. Being able to clearly communicate with your team, supervisors, other departments, it's huge for everything running smoothly. Sharing info, listening to others, working together to solve problems, it all matters.
Wow, I am blown away by how much goes into making margarine. Career path, the knowledge, the skills. It's wild.
It really is its own little world with its own challenges and rewards. More than just a job, it's a mix of science, creativity, and that passion for making something people use every day.
Speaking of the science part, I'm kind of dying to dig into the actual process of hydrogenation now. It's like culinary alchemy, turning liquid oil into this spreadable goodness.
And in our next part, we're doing just that, breaking down the science, the different types of hydrogenation, even touching on some of that controversy around trans fats, the search for healthier options.
Yeah.
You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about the who and the what, but now let's get to the how. It's time to break down the science behind margarine.
The magic of hydrogenation.
So, from my vague memory of high school chemistry, hydrogen is a gas, right? And obviously we all know oil as well. Oil. How do those even go together in a factory? We're not talking baking soda volcanoes here.
It's a tad more complex than that, yeah. Imagine inside the hydrogenation machine, you've got your base oils, could be sunflower, soybean, canola, any of those, and they get mixed with these tiny, tiny particles called catalysts.
Catalysts, right. Those are like what, the little helpers that make reactions happen faster?
Perfect way to put it. They make the whole process way more efficient. So you've got this oil catalyst mix, and then hydrogen gas gets pumped in under high pressure.
Yeah.
The catalyst, it actually helps the hydrogen atoms bond with the oil molecules.
So it's like the catalyst is playing matchmaker. Hydrogen meets oil, they hit it off, and bam, margarine.
Exactly. And that bonding process, that's what changes the oil's structure. It goes from a liquid to a more solid, or at least semi-solid form, depending on how much hydrogen is added.
Okay, so that's how we go from runny oil to something spreadable. It's amazing how they control that.
That's the cool thing about hydrogenation. With a few tweaks, you can really fine-tune that final product. Change the amount of hydrogen, adjust the temperature, even the type of catalyst used makes a difference.
So they can make it perfect for spreading or baking or whatever it needs to be.
Exactly. That's why hydrogenation became so widely used in the first place, so versatile. But, like a lot of scientific discoveries, sometimes there's more to the story, you know.
Right. And speaking of more to the story, there's been some controversy with hydrogenation and health. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, there have been some concerns. So during this process, some of the fats in the oil, they can change into something called trans fats.
Trans fats, those are the ones that, like, aren't so good for you, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. Research shows that eating a lot of trans fats can raise your bad cholesterol, which increases the risk of heart disease.
Okay, so definitely something to watch out for. But I feel like the food industry's gotten a lot better about this, haven't they?
For sure. Because of those health concerns, a lot of companies have moved away from using oils that are what's called fully hydrogenated. Those tend to have the highest trans fat content.
What's the alternative then? How do they still make it spreadable?
It's called partial hydrogenation. They
Hmm.
can still get that texture, but the trans fat levels are much lower.
That makes sense. The food industry is always changing, right? Adapting to what science is discovering and what people want.
Exactly. And a good way to keep up with those changes is just looking at those product labels. If you see margarine that says trans fat free or 0 grams of trans fat, you're good to go.
It's wild how something so simple, spreading margarine on toast, is actually tied to this whole quest for healthier foods.
It really is. And it's not just about avoiding trans fats either. Food scientists are always researching new things. There's this process called enzymatic interesterification, for example. It might sound like a mouthful, but it's basically another way to get those same changes in the oil, but without making any trans fats.
Margarine on the cutting edge of science.
You could say that. Shows that even in an industry like food, where some things seem so basic, there's always innovation happening.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. We've covered so much. Who these hydrogenation operators are, what they do, the science behind it all, the health stuff, even the future of how it's made.
It's been a pleasure. It's so interesting to really dig into these everyday things and the people who make them possible.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that there's often this whole hidden world behind the stuff we take for granted. Thanks for coming with us on this journey, and until next time, keep exploring.